Sit! Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
Welcome into the Dynasty Nerds Podcast, but wait, it's not. I mean, it is, but it's not. This is the Talkin Dynasty Podcast with Garret Price and Jared Wackerly. Yes, we know on your feed it looks like the Dynasty Nerd Podcast, and that's because Rich and Matt are both gone on vacation at the same time. Jared and I started our brand new show called Talkin Dynasty, and we figured what better way to promote this new show than to just do it, but also for the Nerd Herd. So that's what we're doing right here, right now, today. Jared Wackerly, how the heck you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. You know, Rich is on vacation. Matt's on vacation.
Yeah.
You're about to leave for like a month.
And yeah, Rich is in the Outer Banks. I'll be there next week.
Yeah, and here I am. I'll see you guys next week. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, well, they're giving us the opportunity to shine a little bit, So
yeah, that's true.
We get to talk Dynasty.
We do. And
Dynasty.
To be fair, I was gone in the spring on vacation, and I'll be gone in October. So, I mean, I'm getting mine, but I'm feeling a little envious, a little jealous of all the sun and sand that you guys are going to get, and I'm going to be stuck in the stuffy office. So
we got a special show prepared that we may not ever get to talk about on the Dynasty Nerds podcast. So, Matt and Rich may not even know that we're covering Devy today.
Yeah.
Something you and I love to play.
We do. Like, if I join new leagues, I like them to be Devy Leagues. Like, I'll join other ones, but I specifically want them to be Devy or have some sort of Devy component because, man, it just makes it so much more fun. And let's just jump right into it. But before we do have to talk about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy because, look, we're going to be talking about Devy, and I'm going to get way off track. So I got to talk about Underdog now before I forget to do it because, look, Underdog is the easiest place to play fantasy football, and specifically those best ball leagues. I mean, those best ball leagues, Jared, I know you've entered a bunch of contests. I've entered a bunch of contests. And look, I'm trying to bring home $3 million in Best Ball Mania 4. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know how many entries I'm up to. It's probably got to be close to 10, 11 entries. How many do you have right now?
3.
You got to catch up.
I'm modest. I'm good with my money, and I got to do more because best ball is this whole new game. There's so many. Different. There's like a whole different game theory to it. So I gotta change up these player shares, and I gotta make sure I'm spread out the correct way. And I've been trying to read up on how to play because I'm not like an expert by any means on best ball, but it's interesting.
This just shows our personalities, though, because whenever you do something, it's got to be calculated, timed out, planned out. And 99% of the time, if I'm doing something, I'm like, I'm going to jump in head first, and then I'll figure out if I can swim or not when I get there. So this best ball thing is totally showing both of our personalities. But in baseball, in Best Ball Mania, you can join that tournament and win up to $3 million. And you know what? We've got even an extra special treat for our people that are like, I love the concept of Underdog, but I don't know. I'm more of a dynasty guy. Look, all you got to do is head over there. Use promo code NERDS, and you can deposit up to $100. But look, you only have to do 10, and they'll double your money. So now we're doubling your odds at making some money here. And on top of that, if you deposit $10, you get a full freaking year, a full year of the Nerd Herd plus GM bundle. The entire year. So these tools that we talk about all the time where you look at your team and you're seeing the entire league and all your player shares and trade calculators and league like all of that stuff, plus Jared and I's Nerd Score, which we work very, very hard on, and it's only gotten better every single year. You get the film room, which right now maybe you're not watching a ton of film, but come January, come February, that is going to be an absolutely invaluable tool. And you get a second podcast. So if you like what you heard, if you like what you're hearing tonight, get part of that, and then you can get another episode. So all of that there with Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code NERDS to make sure you're making all of that happen at Underdog. All right, Jared, are we ready to talk Devy?
Just wanted to state that that's for new members only at Dynasty Nerds and Underdog. But if you are currently a Nerd Herd subscriber and you do sign up with Underdog and deposit $10, we are sending Dynasty Nerds t-shirts, most comfy shirt in the world. So just wanted to make that clear.
Oh, and I'm supposed to read this part. I don't do what I'm told. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOP. ENENY, and in Tennessee, call 1-800-889-9789.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You did a good job, man. That's
do the best I can
to read all those words.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah,
it is.
Good job.
But dude, we get to talk Devy, which is hilarious because our show is called Talkin Dynasty, and on episode 2 we're already talking Devy.
Well, Devy is Dynasty. It's a form of playing Dynasty.
And Jared, why don't you explain this? Because I feel like if you've been in the mean streets of Twitter, or you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, or honestly, you're just in the Devy or the Dynasty fantasy space, you've probably heard someone mention Devy before, but it might be one of those things where it's like, I've heard it too many times now to ask what it means. Like, have you ever done that with like people's names where you're like, I've seen them too many times now to ask their name again. Like, I can't ask them their name anymore.
Thank God for like Facebook and stuff.
Yes. How did people do this in the 80s? I have no idea.
What's that person's kid's name again? I should know.
Yeah, exactly.
How's Sarah doing?
So can you explain what Devy is? Just in a generalized sense.
So the cool thing about Devy is like it can be added to a Dynasty League really at any time. Like it can be implemented. Devy stands for developmental. And it's different from a traditional Dynasty League in that you can own the rights of college players before they come into the NFL. So typically you can either have a separate Devy draft every year, or you can include, and this is the way I prefer to do it, Devy picks or picking the Devy players within the rookie draft itself. So you can add this at any time to a Dynasty League. It's really not that hard to implement. You can keep track on like a spreadsheet. You can keep track many different ways, which we'll get into in this show. These players don't score points for you. There is an implementation of Devy or an expansion called Campus to Canton, which we can talk about later as well, where college players do score points for you. But essentially, you're owning assets or the rights to college players. Like you could own Bijan Robinson in his freshman year, all the way up through college into where he enters the NFL. When they enter the NFL, they go to your team. So you can trade them while they're in college. They're just like another asset on your team.
Yeah, and it makes it really interesting because, like, let's say you were starting Devy this year. You could have the pick 104, and now you're trying to decide, like, or let's not even say 104. Let's say 101. Let's say you have the number 1 pick, and you're like, oh, forever it's been Bijan Robinson. I'm taking Bijan Robinson. Well, now Caleb Williams is a part of the equation, which if you don't watch a lot of college football, Caleb Williams is being heralded as the next guy. Like he's the next Andrew Luck, the next Trevor Lawrence, the next like big time quarterback that people talk about that's going to be an elite talent. The difference between him and some of those other guys is he's maybe a better athlete than some of those other guys. Now, granted, Andrew Luck was a fantastic athlete that ran and you know, so does Trevor Lawrence, but the ceiling on this kid is crazy. So now if you're in a super flex league, now you're having to make the decision between this generational type running back that we've been talking about for years or this generational quarterback that we've been talking about for years. So it definitely spices things up, especially the first year that you implement it.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, you know, if your league wants to implement Devy, it's pretty easy to do so. Like you guys vote on it. Maybe you push it out for 2 years. But the one thing to really think about is it's called, the term is Devy depleted. You may have heard of it on Twitter and whatnot, but when you are selecting these Devy players, they are not included in the rookie draft that you do later on. So Devy depleted just means the rookie draft itself is not as deep. Now, if you include Devy players in that draft, then it kind of lightens the, I don't know what you want to call it, Garrett, but lightens the blow to the rookie draft. Explain Devy depleted better than I just did.
No, you did good. But just to clarify, some people will do a Devy draft every year and a rookie draft every year.
Yes.
So when you do that, your rookie draft will then be Devy depleted because some of the guys like Bijan Robinson for this year, he would have already been gone. We knew several years ago that he was going to be a stud. Somebody would have already taken him in Devy. Guys like Jahmyr Gibbs would be gone. But Anthony Richardson, maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't have been gone.
The year Joe Burrow freaking killed it, he was available in most rookie drafts still.
Javonte Williams, like it happens every year where there's 2 or 3 guys that burst onto the scene where they're not even a part of anybody's team. So you could still get some high-end players. But what you were talking about is if you do your Devy rookie draft or freshman draft, and you do your, I guess it wouldn't just truly be freshmen because you can take other players as well, but a lot of times freshmen or top-end freshmen are in that. Along with your rookie draft, then it makes those picks a little bit more valuable again. And it offers, I think, a little bit of variance on how you want to take your team. If you're looking at a little bit more of a win now team, you're probably taking rookies that at least have a shot to help you win this year. If your team sucks, there's a good chance that you might be looking a little further ahead and trying to gamble on some elite assets as opposed to just taking Jonathan Mingo this year. He's a guy that would be available in a lot of Devy drafts this year because kind of burst onto the scene a little bit. Mm-hmm. But you might be saying, well, I would rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. Well, he probably went last year as well, but still, you get the purpose of it. You get to take those guys ahead of time.
So where can you play? You can play on Sleeper. That's where I prefer to play a lot of my Dynasty leagues. You can play on MFL. I know on MFL you're able to create custom players that can serve as holding those players on your rosters in college. Or on Sleeper, if you're going to play on Sleeper, what we do typically is you can either draft kickers to be placeholders for those college players, and you can actually edit the nickname of players on Sleeper, so you can draft Justin Tucker and give him the name of Caleb Williams. Or you can draft retired players. I think even I don't know, Peyton Hillis, you can still draft on Sleeper, I'm pretty sure. And Garrett, you're the league we do with a lot of the guys in Ohio. That's the way we do it. And then I think it's smart to keep a spreadsheet on the side on Google Sheets to just be organized, know who has who and what placeholder player is for Caleb Williams or Drake May or someone like that. But you can play really on any platform. It's just there's a little extra work to it for a commissioner or someone else that's co-commish or something like that.
And some people will use Fantrax because you can draft the exact players. And so you have your kind of Fantrax bench going along with what's going on in Sleeper. So you can do that as well. But Jared, I do want to get into real quickly before we dig into more of the nitty gritty. Mm-hmm. I want to give the people why we have chosen that Devy life, because there's a lot of people that are already look, Dynasty is a niche of fantasy football. And I only have so much bandwidth to be able to focus in on this niche.
Yeah.
Why should I go even deeper? And I get it. That's kind of how I am with IDP. I don't have the bandwidth to think about defensive players and their scoring, whereas some people gravitate to that a little bit more. But why have you specifically, and I'll talk about why I have, but why have you specifically gotten into Devy? Why has it made your fantasy football, your Dynasty fantasy football experience better?
Number one, I love college football. So I'm watching college football on Saturdays during the week. So I'm always plugged in on up-and-coming guys. And I've always been someone that really enjoys digging deep, trying to find diamonds in the rough or doing scouting. As you guys know, we do our nerd scores. So all of those things kind of tie into giving me, I think I have an edge when I play Devy. Yeah. So that's why I like playing those leagues, because I think I can find some diamonds in the rough that some other guys maybe can't. And it gives me an edge. And I'm able to watch on Saturdays like, oh, I have that guy on my Devy roster. Or, oh, look at that guy like showing out. I need a trade for him or something like that. So that's why I love playing Devy.
Yeah, and similar to why, fantasy football has gained such popularity. If it was, let's say it was a random Thursday night, I had stuff going on, but there's a game on and it's bad teams. Let's say it's the Cardinals and the Seahawks. I don't know. The Seahawks are decent, but let's say it's Cardinals Seahawks. On a normal Thursday night, if I didn't have fantasy football, I might be like, I don't really care about either one of those teams. I'm going to do something else. But dang it, I got DK Metcalf and I got James Conner playing. So you better believe that I'm watching that game. Same type of thing goes for college.
Yeah.
Yes, you probably have your college football team that you root for. For us, it's Ohio State, but, there's plenty of programs out there, way more than even NFL teams. So chances are your alma mater or, a school in the area or whatever, you have somebody that you cheer for on Saturdays. But if that team is not playing, chances are, unless you're a college football fanatic, you don't really care about the other games. Well, now, if you find yourself with nothing to do, you're like, well, shoot, I kind of want to watch the Wake Forest game now because I got a guy playing in the Wake
Kenneth
Forest
Walker
game.
Before he transfers to Michigan State.
Exactly. I got guys on these teams, so maybe I will watch, the Thursday, when they do like the midnight Thursday games because they're the West Coast games. Like,
oh yeah.
Now you might be a little more interested. So it just makes your overall football experience on the weekends that much better. Right?
Oh yeah. Exactly.
And I like what you said about the advantage too, because we're always looking for different advantages. And you mentioned the Devy League that we play with guys in Northeast Ohio, a lot of good friends and things like that. But for the most part, these guys are that's all they are. They're just good guys that are friends. They're not knee deep in fantasy football like us.
It's just all they are, huh, Garrett?
Just that's all they are.
We got our Devy draft and rookie draft Friday. You better watch out.
I know they're gonna be coming for me. But they're not spending tons of time investing in players, and let alone investing in college players, like trying to figure all that out. So that very first year, Jared and I were walking away with Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs and like all of these guys. And now
I got Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Caleb Williams. Like now our rosters are stacked with some good players because we were a few years ahead of everybody on these guys. We saw a lot of this coming. Now, some of these guys are starting to catch up and realize, oh, these are the kind of players I need to be looking for. And, it's going to start to balance out a little bit, but it does. It gives you an advantage. If you're someone that pays attention, if you're someone that digs in, it's just another layer to something that can help you get an advantage.
Yeah. And, now I think we should get into a little bit of like starting. If like you're not just adding Devy to your league, let's talk about a little bit of like how to do the startup draft.
Yeah.
Say you pick sleeper.
There's a few ways, so I'm curious as to which way you're going to go.
So you could do 3 different drafts if you wanted to. The NFL draft has not happened. You could do the startup draft, obviously with all the veterans. You can include Devy picks for the Devy draft and rookie picks for the rookie draft after the startup draft happens inside of the startup, so you can draft those picks. Or if it happens after the NFL draft has happened, you can include everyone all in one startup draft. So that's the way I prefer to do it. Makes things a little easier. You
could honestly, I've seen leagues where it's 3 separate drafts. You have the startup draft, then you have your rookie draft, then you have your.
Yeah,
I don't either, because especially then trying to figure out, well, this guy got the 10th pick here, so he should get the 3rd pick here, and that gets all messy, all nasty. And guys can get like huge advantages because sometimes the gap between, like in the NFL, the gap between the 1 pick and the 7 pick might not be that big. It's Josh Allen to Trevor Lawrence, but it's not a huge difference. In Devy, the 1 pick versus the 7 pick is a huge gap. Like that's a big difference right now.
Known to the unknown. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm with you. I think putting them all together is the best way to go about it. And dude, it's the most fun.
It's just open market then. Like, you want to take Caleb Williams in the second round of your startup? Don't do that. I don't think you should do that. But I mean, you could. Yeah, maybe you should. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that, but now that I do.
Rich did that one with 24 picks. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, that might be the right value. Now that
Caleb went at like the beginning-ish of the second round.
I mean, think about it. He's going to be the first overall pick next year.
Yes.
And Anthony Richardson's going to what, like 111, 201-ish?
Yeah, he's around the turn.
And he's a better prospect than him.
Right.
So immediately, he's probably like a top 10 startup pick.
And
right?
we were even talking
easily
a few weeks ago. I was talking with Rich and Matt on here, and look, they don't spend a lot of time in the Devy space, but right away, like from the jump, you can easily make an argument for Marvin Harrison Jr. being a top 5 wide receiver. Like,
yeah,
like
dude, he's going to go 2 overall. It's going to go Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, unless Drake May balls out.
Yeah, I mean, they said that if Marvin Harrison would have come out last year, he would have been the top non-quarterback pick in the draft. So I mean, he should even play this year for real.
Honestly, I'm
a Buckeye fan. I want him to play, obviously, but
I don't know what he has to gain, dude.
Right. Yeah.
But we're getting a little off track.
Yeah.
But putting all of those assets together, yes, then you can easily decide, like, shoot, all these people are rookie crazy, Devy crazy. They're taking all these college guys. I'm just going to keep scooping up the veteran value all day long. And all of a sudden, you could have a nasty win now team because you built it that way. Or you could be very forward thinking and saying, look, I know this year might be a little rough, but if I'm walking out of here with Bijan Robinson and Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison, like, I'm walking away with all these young studs, like, good luck dealing with me in a year or two because my team's going to be filthy. So it allows for your own creativity, your own personality to be able to come out and you get to take your team how you want to right from the jump. Whereas opposed to if you're doing your startup draft and then you do a rookie draft, then you're doing like a win now. It seems like, why am I even bothering with the Devy side of this? I don't even get, like, I would be trading all of these guys anyway in a little bit to take veteran players. Just let me draft the veteran players I want instead of having to try to deal with trades and things like that later. So I'm a big fan of just put it all in one group and let the chips fall where they may.
And I mean, if you are going to split it out, do not, like, if you're the 101 in the startup, don't make that person the 112 in like the rookie draft or Devy draft, because just include the actual like rookie pick or the Devy pick inside of the startup. So you can draft the rookie 101 or you can draft the Devy 101. Like, that way you're still kind of doing the same thing. Usually it all just depends if the NFL draft has happened.
Explain how that works, because you and I know that, but I feel like that could be kind of confusing. Like, what do you mean by drafting the 101 in the startup?
So if you have a separate startup draft, and then there's a rookie draft following for all the rookies after the NFL draft has happened and we know where the landing spots are, you could have the rookie 101, 102, 103, like the actual draft slot inside the startup. So you could draft which slots you want. Like you could get 101, 102, 103 if you're able, and that's what you decide to do in the startup. Same thing for the Devy draft. You know, if you have a separate Devy draft, include the Devy picks slots inside the startup.
So for example, if that was happening this year and I want at pick 15, I want to take Bijan Robinson. And so I know that I can't draft Bijan actually right now, but I can take the 101 to guarantee that I get Bijan Robinson. So I'm going to take the 101 at pick 15 here in the rookie draft, and I'm going to draft Justin Tucker and change his name to, rookie pick 101. So that way
you just got to communicate within your league. Someone's got to keep track of it on a spreadsheet so you guys know what's been taken, who has what. It takes a little, more commissioning, or I don't know what the word is for it, for Devy Leagues, but right. It's so fun. It's my favorite way to play it. I think an important setting to consider is how diehard or how into like college scouting or college football are your league mates. Putting a cap on how many Devy players each team can hold. Garrett, in our league, you put a cap of 5 players. I hate it, but I think it's smart. 6 players.
Yeah.
I hate it. I would love to be able to just own as many Devy players as I want. Free market, open market. But that would probably give me a huge advantage in that league.
Right.
I'm a little more tapped in. That's what I do.
Right.
And you just got to vote on it within your league. Judge your league. You guys know who you're playing with. Don't make it too deep in the Devy, on the Devy side. It can really cause some imbalances depending on who's in your league. And it could probably cause people to want to quit or not want to play anymore because they're so far behind. It's hard to catch up at that point.
It is. And I think that's a great point. Like you got to factor in who you're playing with. If you have a bunch of hardcore guys and you want to open market on Devy, then awesome.
Play Campus Canton.
Yeah. But by that point, play Campus Canton. And we'll talk about what that is and what that means in a second here. But for the most part, most of these leagues that you're going to be in, it's with your buddies. It's with your homies, and you're going to have an advantage the first couple of years, but you don't want to make it such a big advantage that you're right, that the league is just like, well, shoot, I didn't realize how valuable all these guys were. So now you can already get behind in a dynasty league by trading your picks and all that, and then your team sucks. And you think you can get in a hole there? Add in an extra 4 years where people are ahead of you with some of getting these top freshmen incoming guys and stuff like that. You set your team back a whole another 4 years, and then you got the 3 years or 2 years that it would take to rebuild on top of it normally in a dynasty league. So it can really just jack up a league. So make sure that you're cognizant of who you're playing with, the people in the league, all that kind of stuff, because it could. You're absolutely right. It could wreck the league.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit of like how to do the rookie draft. You've gotten through your first year of the league. You did your startup. Some people have a few Devy picks. Some people have more or Devy players. End of the year's here. How are you doing a rookie draft? So some leagues will have a rookie draft for all the players that got drafted but weren't owned, quote unquote owned, on the Devy side of things. So the Devy depleted rookie draft. You can have a separate rookie draft for those guys, and then after that, have the Devy draft to select college players. Or you can do one draft. You call it the rookie Devy draft. Typically, if you typically play in 4-round rookie drafts, you probably want to add a couple rounds, but you have the ability to select incoming rookies to the NFL or college players. So incoming freshmen, 5-star guys, or any college player that you want to select. That's the preferred way I like to play, is a combined rookie and Devy draft in one. What about you, Garrett?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, because it gets weird then. Like, let's say you tank, legally, but you tank, you get the 101. Well, now if you do it separately, you're getting the 101 in your rookie draft. So you're getting the best player in your rookie draft, which, like we talked about, it can be a little bit depleted because Bijan would have already been gone. Jahmyr Gibbs would have already been gone. Bryce Young would have already been gone. CJ Stroud would have already been gone. Like, you're looking at well over half the first round would have probably already been gone. The only guys that would have been left at this point would have been maybe Anthony Richardson, Zay Flowers, Jonathan Mingo. Like, those are the types of players that would have probably been.
Kendre Miller, Rasheed Rice, Roshan Johnson, Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah.
So still some good guys, but
still
I was just looking
players.
At some that are available. Yeah.
Yeah, still good players, but it's not what the 101 normally is typically. Right. It's not what the 102, but especially once you get to the end of the first round, the 107 looks way worse than it normally does. The 108 looks way worse than it normally does because of that. But so the 101 gets the top guy, the top incoming guy, but then he also gets the 101 in the Devy draft too. So he kind of gets 2 first-round picks instead of just 1 first-round pick for tanking. Like, so it does kind of add some weird incentives for people to tank even more, which leagues are trying to get away from that. They're trying to find less reasons for people to tank, keep it more competitive. In this case, it would only add incentive for people because now they're getting the number 1 overall pick for rookies and the number 1 overall pick for their Devy draft. So combining it together, I really think is the best way.
And as far as managing the league, then you're not managing like a 2 separate asset classes, like Devy picks for the Devy draft, rookie picks for the rookie draft. You're just managing rookie draft picks.
Yep.
So trading, personally, we can get into a little bit of like strategy now, I guess.
Yeah. Well, before we do that, let me tell you about FFPC.
Boom.
FFPC, look, a big announcement, or at least for us, it is. I don't know. Maybe they've been talking about this for a while, but you can play redraft on FFPC. This is not just Dynasty, like not just, get an orphan team and win a bunch of money. No, you can play redraft. You can win
big money on FFPC too.
Exactly. The main event right now, home to the $1 million grand prize and over $5.9 million in total prizes. So if earlier when we were talking about Underdog and you're like, look, I don't know about best ball, but I do know about Dynasty, maybe this is the route you want to go then, because in here you can win $1 million for having a good Dynasty fantasy football team. And look, the Fantasy Pros Championship 2, home to another $1 million grand prize, over $6 million in total prizes. So there's 2 separate, you can win $2 million this year just from that.
Yep.
2 milli. Head on over to FFPC. You can get in leagues that are $100 leagues. You can get into $5,000 entry per team leagues. Like, you win that league, you're bordering on like the average American income that you win just from winning that league.
The coolest part, and it's a little, we're not really in that season anymore, but on FFPC, like they like auction off their team. Yeah. So like you could get into a $5,000 league if they're selling their team for like $250. Like you could get, if you're good at building dynasty squads, then you might be able to make some cash, like just flipping teams. So
exactly. Draft a bunch of good players, figure out how to and then whoop, here's a championship team. You want to win it this year?
Yeah.
The grand prize in this league is 30 grand. I'm only selling you this team for 10 grand. You're gonna make a $20,000 profit off me. You're welcome.
If you're spending 10 grand on teams, man, you got money bags. Bro.
You're a baller. Well, I mean, some people got it. Some people I don't got it, but some people got it. But head over to myffpc.com. Enter the promo code NERDS, and you will get $25 off your entry if you are a new member. That's promo code NERDS, $25 off. Now, look, you can spend it how you want, but it feels a lot better if you get $25 off a $100 league as opposed to a $5,000 league. So even if you want to play in the $5,000 league, I recommend using the promo code on a $100 league first, because it feels like you get more for your money. It's not, it's the same amount of money either way. It's just how I would think about it. All right, Jared, let's get back into it. Let's talk a little, you said you want to talk a little strategy now.
Yeah, look, so you're in we just talked about how to set up the rookie draft or the Devy draft, however you decide to do it. Who should you take? Is there any game theory to it? On this show, we said we're going to focus on game theory, strategy. So personally, this is how I like to attack Devy drafts or Devy players in general. If you do the option of combining the Devy players with the rookie players in one draft after, I like to load up on second and third round picks because they tend to be devalued in my opinion, because you can cash in on getting some incoming freshmen, 5-star guys. So I'm really targeting Power 5 players. I don't really spend too much time on the group of 5 guys, not even the ones that are transferring into Power 5 schools. I try to focus on the top pedigree guys, 5-star prospects, because there is correlation to the top tier prospects coming in from high school and hitting for fantasy football. So as far as positions go, I tend to fade quarterback a bit, unless they're the number 1 overall recruit, number 2 overall recruit. Like Caleb Williams, when he came in, he was number 1 quarterback, number 1 recruit, might have been number 2 recruit, depending on what service you're looking at. Trevor Lawrence, number 1 recruit. Justin Fields, number 2 recruit. Bryce Young was up there. But I mean, you start trying to hit on some of these quarterbacks. I've just seen way too many guys get burned reaching on Spencer Rattler, DJ Uyunglele, or Quinn Ewers even now. Like, I mean, that's a guy I would have drafted, and he's still holding his value. That's another important part of the strategy. Like, these top recruits and guys, if they look a little, they don't produce as much as you would have hoped when they first got their start. Quinn Ewers is still holding very good value. Yeah. So it's an asset that's not really going to die. So I'm targeting Power 5 players, top 5-star recruits, if I can get them.
And one of the biggest questions, we're talking about the theory on all of this kind of stuff. One of the biggest questions I see all the time is, how do I value trading NFL players for Devy players? Because it's always a tough one to really equate on, like, how much is this guy worth versus this guy? And look, here's what I'll say. There are misses all the time with first round picks, but then you add in a whole nother layer where now there's 2 opportunities for some of these top guys to miss. They can miss in college, or maybe they're fine through college, but then they miss in the NFL. The rookies, we're just worried about what they do one jump. Are they going to make it from a first round or second round pick to being good in the NFL? These guys got to be good in college and then good in the NFL. So it's an even bigger jump. So there is more bust potential in a lot of these guys.
A lot of risk
when you're looking at these freshman players. So especially if it's a true incoming freshman that people are oohing and awing over, even if we really think he's going to be the next guy, a lot of times give me the established NFL talent or the college player that maybe doesn't have quite the ceiling, but I feel really solid about them being a first or second round pick. Exactly. Guys like that, yeah, maybe it's not quite as sexy as, Nicholas Singleton coming into this year, who was the top running back recruit in this class. But we'll see. And a lot of people are still high on Nick Singleton. Some people aren't. We'll see how it still plays out. But there's a ton of things that can happen. There's tons of injuries that can happen. There's tons of just, it didn't fit with the coach, so now I'm transferring to another school. Like, that's happening more and more often than it ever did in the past, where, 5-star guy, and then 3 weeks into the season, they're like, nah, I don't like it here. I'm going to Middle Tennessee State now. Like, what?
Yeah. But Amon DeMoss is an example of that, of top receiver. He's in like the FCS now, or D2 or something. But one way I like to look at that is, like, the farther out a player is from playing in the NFL. So if you're drafting like 2026 eligible players, the riskier it is to hold that asset. So I have no problem trading away top freshmen that I can cash in on for proven NFL guys. So that asset, those Devy assets, are not scoring for me on the NFL side. The more time, the more risk. So you got to be really good at risk management. Devy assets are harder to move than draft picks because they're a specific player. Like, somebody has to feel good about that guy in order to trade for him. So I also don't mind, like, trading Devy players for future draft picks. Yeah. Those little things, they add up and they move the needle.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, you're a little leery of, especially in Devy Leagues, and Devy Leagues, we're usually looking at a roster, or I shouldn't even say a roster, but like the number of Devy players that you're going to have, these college guys that you're going to have on your roster. More often than not, it's going to be somewhere between 3 players and like 7 to 8 at the most. Like, that's how most of your Devy Leagues. If it's getting any bigger than that, you're probably moving to a C2C. The other asset that I am a little leery of is tight ends. Tight ends, we've seen a lot of highly ranked tight ends that just don't pan out. And I think part of it is even rookie tight ends usually have a lot more weight and things that they need to put on, converting from other positions. But you think about like the high school position at tight end, a lot of these guys are gangly coming in from high school to college football. A lot can shift and change. Some of them are more receivers. Some of them are more blockers. And we've seen a lot of the top guys in the Devy college space just fade into nothing, really.
Eric Gilbert is a good example of that.
Absolutely.
One of the top, specimen, athletic specimen, freak, look great, goes to LSU. I forget if he even started at LSU or not. He's transferred to so many different schools now. I mean, I hope he pans out. Like, I have him in a couple of places, but it's just a prime example of that. So like this year, Arch Manning, 24/7 Sports Composite, #1 quarterback. He would be a guy that I would target. Nico Iamaleava, I hope I said that correctly. I have not heard the broadcast say his name yet. He's going to Tennessee. He's 3rd overall, 24/7 Sports Composite player. Dante Moore, UCLA quarterback, 5th. So like these guys are quarterbacks that I would consider taking. It's actually said to want to be one of the better quarterback recruiting classes in quite some time. But I'm going in a little too deep, Garrett. I'm just trying to give people an example of how to think or how to move and strategize playing in these Devy leagues.
Absolutely. All right. We've mentioned it a few times. It's time to stop teasing the people. What's the difference between C2C and Devy?
All right. So a campus to Canton league, it pretty much has to be played on Fantrax. Fantrax is one of the few places you can play college fantasy football. It's one of my favorite ways to play Devy. I don't even call it Devy. I call it campus to Canton. So you have a college team that's made up of 30, maybe less, maybe more college players that are scoring for you on a weekly basis. So you can actually win your league on the college side. And then same rules apply kind of with Devy to the NFL, where any players that you retain the rights to from college, when they go to the NFL, you have them on your NFL squad. So now you're also competing on the NFL side. So you're playing normal dynasty. You got a pipeline coming in from college. You can trade those assets whenever you want. You can package them up with NFL players, college picks, NFL picks, you name it. It's just, it's fun. It's a super deep way to play. You got to be a diehard college guy, really into just football in general, scouting and everything. But it gives you 2 ways to win. It's fun. Yeah,
I thought I liked C2C. I really did, and I wanted to like C2C, but it got to the point for me where it was too deep. I liked the NFL side, and I liked like the first 5 to 8 rounds of type of guys that you would be drafting. But then after that, I'm like, dude, I didn't know that Eastern Illinois had a really good tight end. No idea. But these guys did, and they crushed me every week because, they're not playing against as good a competition, but that dude's scoring 2 touchdowns every week for his school. And I have, the 3rd stringer for Alabama because he was a 5-star, so I didn't know any better, and I drafted him, and he sucks, and he never plays. So that's the tough part about C2Cs is you really have to love college fantasy football, not just NFL fantasy football.
It can definitely be too deep for people. I actually had to drop a couple C2C leagues this past year just because it is super deep. I mean, the tough part about it is in college, you don't really have to report injuries. Like you'll find out a guy's not playing 10 minutes before kickoff. I got 3 little kids. Right. I'm not paying attention like right at 10 minutes before kickoff. My 3-year-old needs a freaking, I don't know, she just pooped her pants or something. Like,
well, and hopefully you're even watching the right stream. Like they're gonna notify you on the Ohio State game because you're watching that one. But I'm not watching,
tough.
Eastern Illinois.
And one way around that is play best ball on the college side.
Yeah,
that's a fun way to do it. You can kind of eliminate those issues, but it's super fun way to play. Shout out to, a lot of the guys that used to write for us. It was like at one point, almost our whole Devy team decided to go and form their own company and their own website called campustocanton.com. Great people over there.
Awesome people, yep.
If you're interested in playing Campus to Canton, they have a ton of resources. We have some resources on our site as well get into a little deeper over there. Shout out all those guys, great friends of mine.
Absolutely. And
check them out.
There's a lot of, with all of this, we're just giving you the basic outline and the basic structure and the basic thought process for all of this. Each and every one of these ways to play, there's so many variances and nuances and different ways and offshoots of all of this kind of stuff that you can do. One of the most fun leagues, the only C2C that I'm still in, is called the League. And basically we took a lot of concepts from the old NCAA,
the program,
the program. Sorry, not the league. I was thinking of the TV show, The League, the program. And
my favorite league.
We took a lot of the concepts of like the NCAA recruiting stuff from the old video games, and we incorporated it into there. And it seriously, that's the only reason I'm still in a C2C league, is because of the program. It's so much fun. So there's tons of ridiculous stuff you can do.
That's like its own format now at this point. I mean, you got weekly recruiting, you got a set amount of points. So my team in that is UCLA. And I mean, my team's, I got a certain play style or coaching style. So
you get recruiting bonuses.
My recruiting bonuses affect quarterbacks or running backs differently. I got academic standards. It's deep. We do weekly. You spend your weekly recruiting points. There's a show every week of, which recruits commit where. And at the end of the thing, there's I think there's 5 leagues inside of it now.
I think so.
So at the end of the winners from each league face off and square up for the national championship. And I am the reigning champ of the college side. And I won the NFL side, I think, 2 years ago.
Your team's baller. That's for sure.
Doing pretty good. But no, I love that league. Garret was one of the founders, and Carl and Nate and Matt and Tristan and those guys do a great job of running that.
They do a fantastic job. Well, we've got into a ton of stuff about Devy, about Campus to Canton, about the college side of things. And if you're listening to this, you're like, man, my head is spinning. My head is absolutely spinning with all this new information. Look, all I'm going to say, my last pitch for this is, at the end of the day, try one. Try one Devy.
Try one.
Here's why. Even if you go into it and you're like, screw this, I hate this format, I'd never want to do it again, here's the thing that it will do for you. You will now be paying attention to the guys that you will be drafting in most of your dynasty leagues several years in advance. You now have a leg up on all of your competition, because now you're starting to already get a feel for, well, as much as I didn't like it, 2025, it looks like there's some really good receivers in that class. So if I need receivers on my team, I maybe need to get some more assets in the 25 class to make sure I can capitalize on all those receivers. There's things like that you can do that will help get you out ahead of your competition and make you better at regular dynasty fantasy football. So that's my last ditch effort. If we went through all this and you're like, it's too much, I can't do it, that's my last ditch effort to say, look, try one, because it will make you a better dynasty player.
Yeah, I hope we covered everything. I hope we were able to articulate or break it down in an easy to follow way. If you have any questions, tweet at me at Jared Wackerly on Twitter. If you're in the Dynasty Nerds Discord, tag me. I'll do my best to answer. I don't have all the answers. It is a different way to play. So, I mean, the format is still developing. There's strategies forming. There's theories forming all the time. So
Jared, I'm gonna throw this out here, and this is risky because we're doing the show, and I'm gonna throw it out here while we're doing the show. So I guess if you hate this, just cut it out, and then we won't do it. But
crack my neck. Because
of this episode, I think you and I should start with the Nerd Herd a Devy League this year.
I'm down.
So for those of you that listen to this and you're like, I'm willing to give it a shot, I'm willing to give it a try.
If you want to play with the big boys,
come play with the big boys. And we'll figure out some sort of raffle, some sort of something for people that want to play. We'll get 10 other people, and we'll
we're
do
playing for money, dude. We're playing for money. We're playing for money.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right. I'm trying to do like at least $50.
Yeah. No. Straight cash, homie. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, if I had my way, it'd be like 100. Like I know.
Yeah. I don't like doing $100. I like 50.
I gotta care.
Yeah,
I gotta care in so many damn leagues.
It'll be somewhere between $150, $100 and $50. Yes. Yeah. It'll be somewhere in there. But we'll figure out exactly the parameters that we want to put out there for how to enter, how to be a part of it. You know what?
So I know. No, I'm gonna put a form together.
No. Even better. I got this. Well, maybe you can put the form
great.
together. You can do that.
Technology, give it to me.
Yeah, you're the tech guy for sure.
Go. What were you gonna say?
5-star reviews on the Talkin Dynasty podcast. If you want to be in the league with us, head over to Talkin Dynasty on Apple Pods. Give us a 5-star review. Tell us how handsome Jared is and how much Garrett talks too much. He's the new Rich of Talkin Dynasty. And let us know what you think on there, and you'll get entered into a chance to play in a Devy League with Jared and I.
Love it. Good idea.
Done and done. Easy peasy. All right. Well, we will be back for the Nerd Herd show. That's right. You get us for an additional show tonight, and we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're going to be talking about some of these college guys. We are going to be doing a way too early 2024 mock draft. That's right. Not 23, not this class. 24. So the Caleb Williams, the Marvin Harrisons that we've been talking about. Yeah, we're going to talk about where we would take them a year in advance.
Adios.